Hello, and welcome to the East Africa Business Podcast. This show is all about showcasing entrepreneurs who are building businesses in this exciting part of the world. From reading high-level articles about the region, it can be difficult to really understand what's going on, and so my hope is that these interviews somewhat bring it to life, as well as stoking your curiosity to go find out more. On that, do take a look in the archive for more episodes that we've done, but for now, let's enjoy the rest of this funky intro music and then get started with the show. In this episode, I catch up with Johannes, co-founder of Lynk. We initially spoke in late 2016 along with his co-founder Adam. You can listen to the interview by searching for the episode on how Lynk is building a TaskRabbit for Kenya.
So we focus on two things at Lynk. We work with informal sector workers, and then the second side of what Lynk does is technology. So we try to find ways that these informal sector workers can get access to the labor market that normally they're locked away from.
The company has continued to grow over the years, and this time we meet in the new Lynk house/office. With the new round of funding secured, their employee numbers are up to 45, and well, they need a new place to house people. Johannes and I dig into how the business has grown and evolved over the past few years. The company began by offering services to individuals, and whilst this is still part of their platform, a much bigger side of the business that has grown is B2B, or business to business.
One thing that we did realize is that there's a lot of opportunity on the B2B side. So we have two different products for business customers, right? One of them is the maintenance and facilities management product. We call that Lynk for Business. And then the other one is the construction product.
One of the things Lynk now is effectively a construction company. They use their roster of workers to effectively and efficiently build factories, as well as do the interior design and facilities management. Regarding the individual services that are offered, such as beauticians, the model has also evolved into more of a micro-franchise. Practically, this means that Lynk define the service and how they should be delivered, and then give new workers on the platform a startup loan to purchase the necessary materials and build their business on Lynk. There's lots more that we discuss in this catch-up episode, and so without any further ado, here is Johannes. Cool, so we're here with Johannes from Lynk.
Hey guys.
Again. So we were last here with your colleague Adam. In the old Lynk house. Mm-hmm. Adam's away sealing big deals today.
He's signing contracts.
So
doing all the things.
Doing the other things. So we're going to have him catch up on what you're up to. We initially had this chat around the corner in your old house. Mm-hmm. Lynk's offices.
Yep. We were a smaller place then.
Yep. So you know what it's like, big way. So today we're going to sort of basically get a catch up of where Lynk is. Yep. But just to sort of get started, can you just give us a brief overview of like what Lynk is, what you're doing at the moment?
Cool, awesome. So we focus on two things at Lynk. We work with informal sector workers. So these are workers that often work without a labor contract. They form about 80% or so of Kenya's population, right? People that don't have access to the protection that comes with a work contract, right? Like health insurance and whatever else. So that's one side of what Lynk does. And then the second side of what Lynk does is technology. So we try to find ways that these informal sector workers can find more reliable work, can build a career, and can get access to the labor market that normally they're locked away from.
Got it. Fundi, that's the word.
Yeah, so in Kenya, I think an important word is fundi. That's a general handyman, I guess. So that's one part. I guess maybe like about 25% or so of our worker population could be described as fundis. Mm-hmm. The word is nice, but what we don't quite like about the word fundi is that often it implies that people don't specialize, and we want our worker population to try and specialize, right? So to get really, really good at one thing and then focus on that one thing. So we have fundis in our platform, general handymen, but then we also have things, like in segments such as, like beauty, So you can get a manicurist to come to your house. You can get a hairstylist to come to your house. We have things around, like cleaning and cooking. So you can get somebody to house you, cleans for you or cooks for you or whatever else. So any kind of service that is done at your house, but then also, even physical things that somebody makes for you. So furniture making, carpentry, tailoring, all kinds of diverse services. But then, in addition to informal sector workers who are as independent service providers on our platform, we also bundle products for business customers. So we work with our workers together to do things around facilities management and maintenance, right? So we have a team of key account managers that work with large-scale property management companies to do repairs and maintenance for their property space. And then we also do construction and fit out. We call it a boutique construction firm, where we have project managers, interior decorators, architects who are working with our workers to deliver construction projects to our clients.
Oh, cool. All right.
So a diverse set of products.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely new. So I think when we were first chatting, it was sort of the analogy was a TaskRabbit.
Yeah.
And if you need somebody, and we're saying most requests are reactive.
Yeah.
So I need some plumbing done.
Something is broken, I need to fix
it. Are you saying that is the company taken more of a direction of this sort of bespoke work, or how do you sort of describe it?
So we're still kind of spread out in different segments. One thing that we did realize is that there's a lot of opportunity on the B2B side, right? So initially we did indeed focus quite heavily on the household side. Now we do a lot of work on the B2B side. So we have two different products for business customers, right? One of them is the maintenance and facilities management product. We call that Lynk for Business. And then the other one is the construction product. We have realized that there's a lot of potential in that space. Construction is a thing in Kenya that is booming, right? So developing countries usually grow with construction quite heavily. And on the customer side, it was always kind of clear that it would take us time and I guess also money to develop the household customer side, specifically because a lot of behavior, our product relies on a lot of behavior change, right? So we need to we're working in a space where there's a lot of mistrust, right? So customers don't trust workers. They think workers are out to, steal from them, lie to them and whatever else. And in many cases that may even be true, right? So they have kind of learned that behavior. And we need to, it will take us time, and it is taking us time to build a brand where people are then trusting us and saying, yes, generally in the informal space, reliability is an issue, quality is an issue or whatever else. But if I do it with Lynk, I do get a quality guarantee. I get 100% money back guarantee if something goes wrong. Right? They will help me when there's any kind of issue. And afterwards, I will not be left with a bad taste in my mouth. I will actually be satisfied, happy with the job and whatever else, and I come back. So we think on the household, on the customer side, and the personal customer side, there's a lot of behavior change that still has to happen for us to be able to access the whole market. I mean, we're seeing Jumia needing a little bit of time to explain e-commerce and make it work. And similarly for us, right? We're essentially an e-commerce experience for services. So that's something that before us didn't really exist.
So how did the whole B2B side, how did that side of the business, how did that emerge? Was it that a cold inquiry came in?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. So initially, it actually emerged kind of at the time when we first spoke. What happened is that businesses came to us and said, you guys have plumbers, right? So maybe you can help me with my renovation project where I need a couple of plumbers, I also need some masons or whatever else. And we said, yeah, I guess we can. I mean, it's not quite how we operate, right? We're like an automated platform where that sort of thing doesn't really fit in, but let's see, right? So, and then we started hiring project managers to deliver those projects, to help our workers coordinate, right? Because if we would just send 3 or 4 different kinds of workers to a project site and hope that they will organize it, that obviously wouldn't work, right? So you need to manage construction site. So we started hiring key account managers and project managers who would then go to our customers and work with them to deploy our workers effectively. And this product just grew. So we started adding things like design around it. So somebody can come to us and can say, I want a design for my new office. And then afterwards, I want somebody to build it. So now we have a team that delivers designs, and then afterwards a team that delivers the build out. And since this market is in some ways very difficult, and specifically the construction space is maybe not very efficient, we are able to deliver higher quality at a lower price than whatever the market is able to deliver. So that product has grown tremendously.
Oh, great. We see the design, as in someone will say, right, I've got a empty office.
Yeah. For example.
And I kind of want you to do not just the construction, but also the creative.
Yeah.
How do you source interior designers?
We hire them on like full-time on staff. So,
okay.
So it's a normal hiring process. And like many hiring processes, it just takes time, right? You need to identify the right talent and whatever. So we have a team sitting right behind us, essentially, in the room right behind us, that full-time works on designing and building different...
Okay, so the internal design, the interior designers are in-house. They're not out. Yeah, they're not. It's not another.
So this is not the platform approach. This is designers who we have on staff, architects who we have on staff, and project managers who we have on staff, deploying our workers on construction sites. Yeah. So from the worker side, this means for them that they get access to project sites that they normally wouldn't have access to, right? Because unless, I don't know, maybe they somehow got lucky or something like that. But it gives them the ability to work on project sites on days that they're not busy on our platform.
Yeah. And I imagine as well, if you've got the design, like, I've actually got no idea how the interior design world works, but I imagine a big part of the thing is, yes, here's my vision, but actually I need someone to deliver it.
Yeah.
So I imagine in fact you've got it.
Yeah, that happens quite a lot. So I mean, frequent projects that we have is restaurant build-outs. Mm-hmm. So we've built quite a lot of restaurants that you may know or may have been at. So for example, Baubox or Jay's in Westlands, The Alchemist, we've done some work there. There's a lot of different places. And in those cases, there is often quite a strong vision that the customer already has, where they say, I want my place to look like this, I want my furniture to be rustic, I want my, I don't know what. Mm-hmm. And then other types of customers that we have is actually startup offices, so quite a few startup offices we build out. And in those cases, usually customers come to us and they say, I have this space, I want to maximize it for people to be able to work effectively, or I want it to be like cozy and a nice work environment and quiet. So I need, I don't know, phone booths to be quieted and so on and so on. And then we make a proposal and they say, yeah, I like it, or they say, change these 3 things. Mm-hmm. So quite traditional, I would say.
Great, sir. Do you make foosball tables on LinkedIn?
I don't think we've made a foosball table yet, but are you looking for one? We can ask our head of carpentry if he can make a foosball table.
And see if you're going out and kitting out all these startup offices. That might be something which you have on your list of your things.
You need to get into it.
Okay, so that's quite cool. So that's like part of the business which came about. And one of the things which I remember speaking about was that the approach you were taking was to go broad and shallow rather than just try and do one vertical because there just wasn't the demand for it.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that? I mean, from the sounds of it, you had your whole household verticals and you're actually this whole other vertical in the B2B side. Yeah. Is that kind of how it's panned out?
Yeah, so I think one thing that has happened is that we discovered the B2B side. I mean, we knew it was there before, right? We started experimenting with some customers in the B2B side before when we spoke last, but now we know that there's a lot of potential. Now we're actively going out and pitching to businesses to take over all of their maintenance.
So what's the maintenance? So the maintenance side is just, that's some sort of like recurring business that you've got.
Exactly. So it's essentially recurring revenues.
And I imagine, so that would otherwise have been done by some sort of facilities management company.
There is a lack of supply in the market in this space, right? So
really?
This market is very inefficient. There is a lot of corruption in this market. There's a lack of formal established companies that can deliver at a decent price point, high quality work. So when we go and pitch to property management companies, all of them say, wow, that is awesome, I want it.
Really?
Yeah. Can we please sign a contract with you guys?
Wow.
But the operational modality of it is difficult, right? So like we are realizing, and not only in the B2B space, but in others, like in our other products as well, the operational logic that we need to apply in many cases is actually is quite complicated, right? So like just to give you an example, I talked about corruption, right? So like in the property management space, a lot of these companies are maintaining their own operations team, right? Their own maintenance teams to do maintenance for all of their commercial properties, right? So if you're talking about the malls or whatever else. And the people who they have on the ground often receive kickbacks from their suppliers, right? So they get paid by their suppliers to give them a contract.
The suppliers being
the repairmen or like the companies that deliver work for them, contractors or whatever. So there's a lot of, corruption in that space, and we obviously don't have any of that on our platform, which makes us very attractive to the owners of those companies, but maybe makes us not so attractive for the people on the ground.
I see.
So we have to kind of navigate that in a way, which is interesting, right? Like that's not something we had thought about before, but clearly the value add is tremendous, right? If we can cut out corruption in that space, deliver higher quality work, and for a lower price, it's obviously a tremendous opportunity.
I see. And what's like your
deliverable? I'm trying to think. So do you basically say, right, you've got a call out charge, or you've got X, and then basically let's say that, I don't know, one of the malls, and they say, right, we've got a broken pipe. Is it like request comes into Lynk and you're like, cool, who's the nearest plumber? Off you go, or?
So we now have fixed prices. So we have price lists for our customers, right? So that they wouldn't have to kind of guess what the price will be for that repair or whatever else, right? We can then tell them beforehand with a quite high degree of certainty what the price will be, right? So there's certain rates for labor, there are certain rates for specific types of materials and so on, and obviously there has to be variations depending on the complexity and so on. But we can usually give them an indication beforehand. The way that we usually work is that, or the value addition of us is that we send key account managers to these properties and we give them a regular report, right? So you get an inventory at the beginning when you sign up with us, where we say, we recommend these 5 things to be done. Here's the respective quote, right? It'll cost such and such. And then all they have to do is click and it will get confirmed and we will do it. And then we will send them at the end of the week a report of what has been done, what has not been done, what else has been discovered that should be done, right? So like maybe in the while we were doing repairs, we discovered that like one of their washrooms has been leaking and it needs to be fixed as well, or something like that, right? So good communication, consistent updates, notifications about what is happening, and transparency also about like what are you paying for what, right? So like pictures being taken on site, sent and embedded into the report, and then the transparency of what kind of money flows where, I think, is something that people find quite attractive.
That's really cool. Okay, and did you have any? I suppose, you mentioned you sort of were thinking this might happen one day, but this is just something which, I don't know, when I first thought Lynk, I was thinking, like someone if you're going to have like a beautician to come around or something. So it's quite cool how it's now this like full-on facilities management company.
Not full on yet, but let's say a facilities management company with a technology component.
Okay. Okay, so that's that. One of the things that you personally were quite excited about, I remember, was all the data that you were collecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can only imagine there's more data.
Yeah.
What are some of the cool stuff? What's some of the things you do now?
Just to quickly explain this. My background is in data science, and actually Sam and I met, I think, when I was running a data science meetup ages ago. And that has since gone to sleep because I didn't have the time to keep it up anymore. So that's my background, and that's why I'm super excited about what we're doing, right? We're learning pieces of information, data points about a space where there just isn't a lot of data, right? Like there's a lot of economic activity, but there just is not a lot of data about what these workers are doing, what they're earning, how they're spending their day, and what else they can be doing. So super exciting. So we are collecting very, very interesting data, and we actually had I would say the first serious use of our data has been a loan product. So we rolled out a loan product together with and supported by a company called BFA, Bankable Frontiers Association, who's been helping us to develop this. So they approached us actually and said, you guys are sitting on this worker data, why don't you do something with it? And we said, yeah, great, we'd love to. We're going to focus on other things first, but I mean, you guys have got the expertise, so please work with us, and we work together. And what we've come up with is I guess, regular loan product where, because we understand what our workers are making, right? They're making their money through our platform. We can more easily credit score them, and it's more reliable information than just transactional information that people have on their phone, right? Because and also it's kind of collateralized, right? It goes through us. So at the moment where it is generated, we can withhold a certain percentage and send the rest to the workers. It's quite attractive to the workers because we are sending them jobs, which is additional income, right? So they don't have to actually send us cash. Right, it gets withheld at the moment where they're generating cash, where they're making income, and it's not felt so strongly as if you have to actively send money back to a wallet or to something else. So we have a traditional product where we said, okay, who is eligible for a loan? Okay, you have to have certain levels of activity, so we have enough data about you, also so that you understand the value of the platform enough, and like we don't accidentally incentivize you to leave the platform because we have given you a loan or something like that. And that worked quite decently, I would say. Like it wasn't glorious, but then what was glorious is that at the same time we've changed our operational modality a little bit. So what we said is we want to be more heavily involved in what our workers are doing. Back when we spoke, Sam, we actually had a quoting platform, right, where our workers were auctioning essentially, right? They were bidding for jobs, they were giving quotes, and customers chose who they worked with. We changed this, right? We said we want to be more directly involved in the value that our workers are delivering, right? We want to define better what it is that is expected, right? If you're a beautician, like what kind of materials do you have to have, what kind of prices do you charge, and what kind of quality expectation does the customer then get in return. We wanted to better define this so that the customer experience would go up. But then also we made it a lot easier for our workers, right? If we define more or less what the work is that they're doing, it is less hard, there's less ambiguity for our workers to have to figure things out, right? It used to be that people had to have quite a lot of experience with pricing and other things to be able to participate on the platform, and that's not the case anymore. Now we have an onboarding day essentially where a lot of things are explained, and the products that people can deliver through our platform are explained. And if you do have the right vocational background, you can already join the platform, right? You don't have to have, 5 years of work experience to be able to join. And now, together with the loan program, we're actually able to give people starter packs into jobs, right? We can say, as a beautician, you have to have these 5 colors of nail polish. It's more like 20 actually, of nail polish. And those are the ones that we know lead to high customer satisfaction, right? Whereas, like in the status quo before, it used to be the case that people kind of had to guess, right? Workers had to guess. I'm a beautician, what kind of nail polish do I bring to a job so that the customer gets what they want? And if they guess wrong, the customer's unhappy, right? You lost the customer right there.
And they've bought and they've spent cash on nail polish.
And they're carrying it around through the city, right? And it's not easy and so on. So, but we know, right? So we have this understanding from our platform. We give our workers a starter pack. We start them off with a loan, which might sound a little bit crazy, but we start them off with a loan. But because we are able to consistently give work to them, we actually don't see churn, right? We don't see workers taking this and running away. And instead of just giving them money, we're giving them something to work with. And then we're giving them a means of generating income using that starter pack, which is super attractive. And the repayment rates are through the roof. Like we have not lost almost any money on this, right? So we have not had any cases of workers not repaying. We had a couple of cases where we actually like 2 cases where we deactivated workers, and that's the reason why they weren't able to repay, right? Because something went wrong, or they weren't able to follow our quality guidelines or things like that. Okay. So that is an awesome loan product because it's repaid just at the moment where workers are generating income, and it is not disincentivizing them from generating that income, right? So that's been working super well.
Wow. Is that money coming from your balance sheet?
We had support. So we have been given up to $100,000 from, I think ultimately it was MasterCard Foundation, but it came via DDD, Digital Divide Data, and was managed by BFA.
all the acronyms.
Yeah, exactly. But again, like it wasn't only about the money, it was also about these guys having a little bit of experience, being very interested in platform businesses and marketplace businesses who are able to offer additional value-add services and financial services, and they approached us and said, "You guys have to do this. Like this is going to work.
You have to do this. You have to take this one."
I said, "Okay, fine." We must. No, I was super excited, and it was very successful, and we're using it every day. So we built tech into our platform that we otherwise maybe wouldn't have built yet, and would have spent more time making do without. And now we have this product, and it's working awesomely. And obviously, our customers feel it, right, because they get services delivered to them by workers who have the right tools and materials to deliver them well.
Yeah, because it's really sort of. I mean, one of the things we spoke, I think, to remember us talking about was like the analogy to maybe Etsy or something, and this idea of like it's quite interesting how you basically said, yes, there is free markets and anyone's free to do anything, but really. Yeah. We know that if you make a bench with these dimensions, it's going to sell.
Yeah, it's quite similar. Yeah. So what we're talking about now is, I guess, or what I just said, where I said that the operational modality has changed a little bit. We sometimes explain this as micro-franchising of services, right? So where maybe Coca-Cola used to give unemployed people some merchandise and a small card to be able to sell Coca-Cola. We can give a pre-packaged service to be delivered to customers for anybody who has the right kind of vocational training, which in Kenya is quite a lot of people actually, and they can then deliver it, and the likelihood of it going well is decently high. Yeah. Right. So we like to call this micro-franchising of services.
Okay. And so does that mean they're kind of going under the Lynk brand?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So that's
I mean, often like, part of the starter pack in many cases is actually a uniform, right? So because it makes such a big difference if you are a beautician and you are dressed in a uniform, you look so much more professional than if you're just coming in your regular everyday clothes. Maybe you're smelling a little bit, and so on.
So you've got Lynk deodorant as well?
The Lynk deodorant we don't have yet.
Okay,
we need to work on that. Actually, it's a great idea.
Great stuff. Okay. So what have been some of the projects in the last few years that you found really exciting? So maybe ones that we've not spoken about yet, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of them. A big one was definitely the loan program, which is very interesting. I think a big game changer is also the realization that it is better for us to provide more clarity to our workers, more guidance to our workers, right? So on the one hand, somebody might say, like we're restricting a little bit the choice that workers have on our platform. But the flip side of that is we're making it a lot easier for people, right? They don't need to think about the choices, and they don't need to successfully choose which choice will give them work and which choice maybe doesn't, right? But instead, we're making it a lot easier for people. So that was a big change.
Yeah.
Then I think something that we discovered that is very interesting is, and we don't yet have a project to like change things at Lynk, but what we discovered was very interesting is that there is a lot of synergies between our projects business and the B2B side of our business, right? So when we're talking to business customers and we're saying, let us take over your maintenance, the project team often comes in first and says, and builds out somebody's office or somebody's, builds somebody a factory or a warehouse or something like that. And then afterwards they're able to say, look, we built this out for you, but did you know that our company also has a maintenance service that you can subscribe to? Here's a contract, you can just sign here, done. And that is super interesting, right? The synergies that we now discover within, you mentioned earlier, right? We set ourselves up horizontally, but shallowly. I think the horizontal aspect of the platform is now showing its strength, that we're able to find these synergies between the different products and service household customers, business customers, and then people who want construction projects built. And often there's a lot of overlap between those services that we initially were a little bit worried about. Like we thought there might be, but we weren't quite sure. It turned out there is. Yeah. So we have a couple of projects around, we'll start a couple of projects around bringing those together.
How many workers do you have now?
1,300 active. I don't know the exact number. Okay. 1,350-ish active. And then through the lifetime of the platform, maybe some 5,000 that we signed up, but then maybe left the platform or we removed.
Sure. Active has done a project in the last 30 days.
Has done work and can continue to do work. Work will be sent their way, is what this means.
Okay.
So active means the platform will send them, when a customer makes a request, the platform will send them that request.
Okay. What might cause a worker to be deactivated?
So first of all, we don't charge our workers anything, right? So joining the platform is completely free. What we do in return is we tell our workers, okay, you're joining for free, right? We're sending you work, so you must follow our quality standards. And our quality standards are 1, 2, 3. And it depends on categories, right? Every category has slightly different ones. But one big one, for example, is around timeliness, right? So we don't want our workers to be late. If you have to be late as a worker, as long as you communicate that fact, there will not be any kind of consequence. However, if you don't, there will be a consequence, right? So then we'll say, okay, you got warning number 1, strike number 1. If you get the second strike at some point, you get temporarily deactivated. And if you get the third strike, you get deactivated. Yeah. And we communicate those. So like initially when we set up these quality standards, we maybe weren't transparent enough to our workers, right? So like we assumed if we send a message out to our workers that will be understood. But now we're actually handing them out, right? We're telling everyone actively when we onboard them, actually even several times, what those are and why they're important and why they make a difference. And then we write them down and hand them to them. And it is quite well understood, but those would be the reasons why we would deactivate a worker, right? It's like if you do something bad, if you steal, obviously. Right?
Yeah, okay. And was there always this onboarding process?
Yeah, so we have extended it. We started kind of without it. We never had workers who can register just without seeing us. So you had to kind of come and we create a profile with you. We explain to you what you can and cannot do on the platform and so on. But it used to be that it was maybe like, let's say, a 1 hour, 2 hour process in the very early days, right? Where we just kind of create a profile and that's it. And then we hope that the marketplace nature of the business will weed out the bad actors and will promote the good actors and so on. And that is maybe where we're a little bit naive, right? In the early days, I came from Europe and I was like, let's build a technology platform. But it turns out one has to be quite heavily operationally involved in order to make sure that some things work well. But you also have to immerse yourself to really understand what kind of issues are our workers dealing with, right? Because we realized, and maybe this isn't so similar to other startup stories, that we have to immerse ourselves quite deeply and involve ourselves quite deeply with the work that our workers are doing, right? We have to really dive into the value chain, understand exactly what the value chain is and get involved at every aspect, fix things that are broken, promote things that are working, right? So like really, really deeply get involved in it. And that was a big realization. And that's what has changed, I guess, since maybe about like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. What's your favorite category on Lynk?
My personal favorite category? my favorite category is not doing so well. Yeah. My favorite category has always been floor sanding and varnishing, wooden floor repair.
Okay.
It is a very high value category, right? So like a wooden floor, when you sand and varnish it, that can cost like $2,000 or something like that. Unfortunately, people aren't investing a lot in the wooden floors in Kenya.
Oh, really?
And secondly, it's like if something goes wrong with the wooden floor, it's very bad.
Yeah.
So
high risk.
Yeah. So we have very, very few requests there. That is my personal favorite. I think currently it's actually deactivated even because we didn't have enough good wooden floor sanders and varnishers. that's my personal one. Lynk,
the Lynk house does have wooden floors.
Yeah,
have they been?
They have not been varnished by us.
What?
No.
I mean,
we would have to like throw everybody out and tell them the floors are repaired. You can't work today, and then have them come back a couple of days later.
Work in the garden, actually.
Yeah, that's true. It's not big enough for everyone, I don't think. Anyway, so like the more successful category. So one very successful category is furniture making, right? So a lot of both personal customers, households come to us for the furniture that they want, right? Like let's say somebody moves to Kenya, they need to furnish their house, and it's often quite nice to have something made for you, as opposed to, I don't know, buying imported furniture. Mm-hmm. So that category is growing quite nicely and is quite big. It also has a lot of synergies with the projects business and with the business side.
Do you call that like Lynk soft landing or something? Like
yeah, exactly. You arrive, you get a massage, then you get like your furniture delivered the next day, and you have a caterer come in the evening. Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Right.
Packaging is something we haven't done enough yet. We should do more.
Yeah, that'd be quite fun. All right. So let's talk a bit about the company. So how many Lynk actual?
Do you know what? I don't know. I've lost track. I think it is 45.
Wow.
We've grown a lot in the last few days.
In the last few days?
So many people have been joining. Well, we raced around, so
okay.
We had some money to spend. Yeah. No, I think a big difference is we are now hiring more senior people, which is a lot of relief to us. There's now people in the company who are a lot smarter than us, a lot better than us at the things that they're doing and the things that they're focusing on.
Yeah.
Which is a big relief, right? We had to for a while be the smartest in the room, and that's a lot of burden, and now people are better than us, which is great.
Yeah.
So I think about 45 people, and we would like to grow to somewhere in the range of 70. However, we cannot do this in this house. We have to move office.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I guess related, how's the whole funding been for the last few years?
Very difficult.
Okay.
So I mean, we've been quite good at it, to be honest, but still it took us quite a while to close our current round. We all know the stories where people speak to hundreds of investors and before they can close their rounds or sell their companies or I don't know what. It was similar for us. We had lots and lots of conversations with lots and lots of different people. I think it was while it cost us a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of headspace, I think it helped us a lot to really refine exactly what it is that we're working on, right? Like to really understand, given the criticism that we sometimes receive, given the feedback that we sometimes receive, really refine, this is the right thing to focus on because we've gotten all of this feedback and we can distill it and make ourselves be smarter as a result of it. So it was quite a nice process.
Okay. What do you think was the clincher?
I think the clincher has been that we have interesting traction to show in almost all of them. I think they serve different purposes, the different business units. And I think it has been quite attractive for a lot of the investors that we are so active on the business side.
So if you raised a bunch of money a few years ago and that's kind of just been seeing you through, or how's the company doing in terms of operational profitability and things like that?
Operational profitability, the tough questions. No, I mean, we're very much a marketplace business and it is well understood by us and our investors that those need time to grow, right? You can usually not expect to just live off your margins. We do have an opportunity for this, right? In theory, we could say, let's scale up our margins a little bit and let's scale down our team and we'd be profitable, but we are not interested in running a small company, right? Adam and I both want to build a big business that has the opportunity to scale across Africa and operate in a similar model in different countries. So what we're doing now is really figuring out how growing in a market looks like for us, right? So figuring out the commercial side a little bit better, refining, for example, our business product, which isn't fully defined, right? We're still in the process of really understanding what exactly is the best value proposition that we can offer. there's a couple of things that we think might be it, but we need to validate them with our customers, right? We can't just go out there and say, this is what we think is the best value proposition, and afterwards it's wrong. And then in the next round will be around expansion, right? So we will maybe towards the end of this round, we will maybe have boots on the ground in the second market, but probably not.
Okay, so at the moment, just Kenya?
At the moment, just Kenya.
Just Nairobi?
Yeah.
Just Nairobi?
Just Nairobi. I mean, our project team is active across Kenya, so we've built houses, we have done projects in Kisumu and in other places.
Yeah.
So we are active across Kenya a little bit. We do have even a what we like to call a special project that is spanning multiple Kenyan counties, but the marketplace, the platform, is only active in Nairobi.
Okay.
And most of our workers are here.
Yeah. Okay. So I imagine actually it's one to scale. Like it might be, I don't know, not that straightforward. I'm thinking it might not be that straightforward in order to scale it. Let's say you go to Rwanda.
Yeah, we'd have to set up operations in the new places, right? So I mean, in terms of the platform and the marketplace, it's not crazy, right? Because a lot of the work that we have been doing in the last few years is actually understanding exactly what are the services that we're offering them, how are they exactly defined, and what I told you earlier about the micro-franchising, right? We really understand what is a good definition for a product that a beautician might offer, and taking that and repackaging it for Rwanda isn't very difficult.
Okay.
So what you have to do in Rwanda then is find enough workers, which is honestly at this point we don't need crazy amounts of workers, right? So like given the beautician example, a beautician can do 4, 5, 6 jobs in a day, right? And that if you translate that into monthly numbers, you can do something like 80, 100 jobs. And that's just one person. So when you start setting up in a specific location, you don't need crazy numbers. Yeah. We really need an operations team, we need brand presence, and we need our tech to be translated for different locations. That's kind of it.
And is it a safe assumption that the beautician service will be the same in Rwanda as it will in Kenya? Like, are you going to, it's safe to say people like to have orange nail polish and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's cultural differences and those kind of things to take care of, but I think the principle is the same, right? And if it's not polishing your nails, then it's cutting your hair, and if it's not cutting your hair, then it's, I don't know, cooking something, or I don't know what, right? Like the services aren't so different. They are not even so different if you compare them to Europe, or if you compare them to India, or if you compare them to other places. So it's not crazy, but obviously there's cultural nuances to take care of. And that's specifically true when we're talking about, like completely different places. Like for example, one market that we find quite attractive is Egypt, right? And then language is different. There's other cultural nuances to take care of, right? So like especially delivering, I don't know, beauty services and things like that, right? So that is a little bit more complicated, but it's not crazy. I think the translation of services to other places is probably the smaller problem to deal with.
Cool. Okay, so there's most of the heavy lifting has been done in the fact you've done it for this one market. So whilst there will be some refinement,
obviously there's refinement, and I think it is always complicated to have a multinational company that you're running, right, with operational teams in different locations and stuff like that. But it's probably not that we have to redefine whatever Lynk is doing in a different market completely. It'll probably be quite similar.
Cool. All right. Have you started feeling competition from other companies?
Not at all. I mean, this is both a blessing and a curse, right? So this market is difficult. Working with informal sector workers is hard. Asking them to be on time is hard, right? Like, and we think we have quite a good handle on it, where like we think we understand the quality that we are actually delivering quite well. We think for somebody to catch up to that level is going to be hard. Right, like we're even not very worried of international players coming in, right? If somebody said they want to set up a service marketplace in Kenya, we'd say, Karibu, please try, good luck. And then maybe afterwards they'll buy us because they realize what we have built.
Is that still a plausible exit strategy for an international company to come in and buy you? Like who would find Lynk? Yeah,
so in terms of exit strategies, there's a couple of things that we think could be interesting. I mean, primarily we want to be a scale game, right? Like primarily we want to build something massive, and then hopefully realize opportunities because we're big. But I think services actually synergize quite nicely with a couple of companies that are expanding quite heavily in the markets around us, right? So like if we're talking about, I don't know, motorbike delivery businesses or stuff like that, or motorbike taxi businesses or stuff like that. And in Southeast Asia, you have Gojek and others who have both services and deliveries and taxi businesses. And the reason they synergize so well is because for us, a big part of our costs of our workers' cost is transport, right? If you keep them very busy, then labor doesn't have to be crazy, and materials is obviously substantial, but maybe not crazy either. And transport then starts being substantial. Whereas I think margins is one of the big problems that most delivery or taxi companies have, right? Like margins are low in that space. There's a lot of competition. So there is probably an interesting opportunity there. We think e-commerce companies often find it attractive to look into services. Amazon has Amazon Home Services in Asia. I think in Asia. I'm not really sure where they have it. So there's a couple of opportunities like that would be interesting.
The reason being is that they've got the customer.
Exactly.
And there's only so many electrical items that a customer's going to want to buy.
Yeah. So then, how do you expand the value of that customer? Maybe sell them some services. Yeah, we think that could be interesting. Then, what I think is very interesting is that we are one of the few companies that are offering products made in Kenya, made by the informal sector specifically. And that maybe goes nicely with e-commerce as well, right? If you're saying, okay, we have furniture made in Kenya, and most e-commerce businesses in Kenya are actually just importing stuff from China and selling it here. Maybe there's a story there as well, right? Where we say we have local guys make local furniture at high quality and decent prices. I think there's something to be explored there as well.
Yeah, very, very cool. All right. We'll just do a few more questions. John, so we last spoke just under 3 years ago. If we were to speak in another 3 years, what do you reckon? I imagine headquarters would still be in Nairobi, I guess.
Yeah, it's very likely. I haven't actually thought about headquarters so much than about expansion markets.
Yeah.
So in 3 years, I would say hopefully we have expanded to let's say 2 other markets.
Okay.
We will start thinking about really scaling this business out. We will have saturated not saturated, hopefully. I mean, hopefully the market is bigger than that. But we will have started properly owning market share in Nairobi. And we will have gone to other countries.
Okay. So that's not like, you speak to some companies and they're like, boom, we're going to be in 50 countries next year. It's a bit of a slow burner.
I mean, in 3 years, that's not a crazy amount of time, right? So like in 3 years, so we really do want to spend the next 2 years here in Nairobi, right? So like, as I said, maybe we'll have boots in the ground in the second market, but only some boots, right? Not many boots. And then you do need some time to figure out how exactly you're going to do this. I think it might actually be prudent to take it one at a time in the beginning, as opposed to just expanding like all over the place. We do think that most of the conclusions that we're drawing here in Kenya will apply for other markets as well, and we will most likely choose larger markets than Nairobi as our expansion markets. So probably in terms of like market opportunity and potential, those will be quite attractive. Okay. So we should also be fast to go to those markets to make sure that we have some kind of first mover advantage.
Nice. And when do you run out of money? You're going to have to like raise some more money?
Yeah, we'll have to raise more money.
Okay. But I'm sure by then you have lots of lovely examples of like how it's all together.
Of course.
And what's been like, what projects or thing are you most looking forward to in the next 12 months?
You mean like special project, like things that we want to do in addition, like the loan product, other things?
Yeah.
I think something that I'm quite excited about and that could offer opportunities as well, I think, would be the inclusion of a wallet in Lynk.
Okay.
I think that's what we see some of the other marketplaces do, especially in Southeast Asia, right? Like Gojek is maybe an example, right? Where they expand the value that their platform has by going into financial services.
This is the value for the worker.
So this will be value for the worker, but potentially also for the customer. So we already have a semblance of that, right? So like customers can hold a balance with Lynk just because you pay us money and then use that money to buy services, right? So it's obviously not fully a wallet. There's also legal questions to be answered when you really want to have a wallet and stuff like that. On the worker side, I think this is especially interesting because I think savings is something that the workers really need and usually don't have in this market, right? Informal sector workers struggle with savings specifically, right? Like loans is something they find very interesting, but what they actually do need is savings.
Of course, you're going to say, because I imagine their payments come in lumps.
Irregularly, in lumps, exactly. And then you don't have anything for a week, and then you have something again, and with Lynk, yes, we provide you more consistent opportunities, right? In the more heavily utilized categories, it's like 3-4 jobs a day, right? So that's nice. But imagine if you can say, okay, I want to keep 5% of all of the money that comes to me through Lynk in a savings account, right? Like what does that mean for, I don't know, like a single mother or something like that, to be able to save, lock it away, right? So that it doesn't get touched. I think that has the potential for huge impact. And I think it would make the platform a lot more valuable. So that's something I'm excited about. I mean, the biggest thing to be excited about right now is scaling out, like starting actual marketing activities, right? Like being commercially more active and present than we have been to date. We were cash constrained until now, and now we can actually do interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It'll take us about 3-4 months to get ready for these kind of activities, but we're super excited about it.
Very cool. And as before, people can go to lynk.co.uk.
Yes.
Do you ever get caught out by, is there an link.co.uk? Do you ever get caught out by Lynk being spelled in the funny name? Or does everyone know?
Well, I mean, people do get confused quite a lot, that's true. We don't get called out. I think there is a product by Microsoft called Lynk, Link.
Yeah.
So people often confuse it with that.
There are worse associations for people to have.
Yeah, but just to be very clear, guys, you should go to lynk.co.ke.
Lynk. And is there an app?
There's also an app.
Yeah.
Resource constraints. We had to take it off the Play Store.
Really?
Because it fell behind in features. So like we adjusted, we expanded a lot of the feature sets that we had, and we just at some point said, okay, we can't offer an app that has fewer features than the website. That's kind of embarrassing. We'll re-enable it sometime this year. Sometime this year. We haven't even started working on it yet. There's so many things to do.
Okay, cool. But yeah, as a first port of call,
yeah,
lynk.co.ke.
That's it.
Fantastic, awesome. Well, Johannes, thanks so much.
Awesome, it was a pleasure.
Before we head, just a quick moment to say thank you for listening. You can see show notes for this episode by heading to the new website www.theeastafricabusinesspodcast.com. If you'd like to learn more about the show and the work we do, then you can have a bit of an explore on the website and also subscribe to the various places such as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and email. Finally, if you felt this was a good episode and you've been enjoying the show recently, then please do consider leaving a rating for the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. You could also tell a friend who's curious about these sorts of businesses that we feature, and indeed, if you know of a business that you'd like to be interviewed on the show, please feel free to reach out via any of the channels mentioned above, and we'll see what we can do to have an interview and showcase them on the show. In any case, have a great week and speak to you soon.